passion and pageantry of college football lives here. This is the Paul Finebaum Show, Hour 1 podcast.
This might be college football heaven.
We decided to do one more show. Good afternoon. Welcome to this Thursday. A few things are happening, and we're going to get right to them, not to keep you in suspense. There will be a college sports CEO, according to Dennis Dodd. Okay. Well, who's it going to be? And how is it going to happen, Dennis? Meanwhile, we'll ask Dennis about the coaching carousel. Rodriguez to West Virginia. That's an A+. Barry Odom Jr. going to Purdue. Bill Belichick. Scott Frost is back, in case you missed about 8 years. Back to where he once left a gold mine. Did anybody, you know what, I forgot Dan Mullen was back in coaching. Wow. So did everyone else. Phil Longo is back. Charles Huff. I don't know where I was the last month, but I don't remember any of these hires. I have no idea, but I must have missed a month worth of coaching hires. It must have been a long December for me. The SEC lands 2 assistants on the list of the Broyles Award. That's the most prestigious award that goes to assistant coaches. We will go to the side. These are the finalists. Garrett Riley. Remember him? Josh Gaddis. I remember him. Wasn't he at Alabama at one time? Yes. Steve Sarkisian. He was at Alabama one time, too. Oh, I'm reading the former winners. Okay, not the current. Joe Brady. Yeah, I saw him the other day in the NFL. Okay, the finalists are Tim Banks and Texas's D.C. So a lot happening with Title IX and the current state of affairs in Washington. Amanda Christovich joining us. Always great to check in with Amanda from Front Office Sports. Amanda, good afternoon. Thank you for making time. A lot to talk about. But let's start with this headline here with NIL and all the things that have been going on since in Washington and elsewhere since we last talked. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Nice to see you, or nice to hear from you, I guess.
Yeah, I've been meaning to call you. I just keep you keep ghosting me when I'm calling you after the show.
I'm not ghosting you. I would never ghost you. I would never ghost you. But I have been very busy on the phone with I've spent more time talking to people in D.C. over the last month since the CFP ended than I have talked to any athletic directors, players, coaches, or conference administrators. It's been unbelievable.
Well, take it from the top. What exactly is going on in D.C. in relation? Well, we know what's going on in D.C., but in relation to college athletics.
All right, so let's start with the big news of yesterday, right, which was the rescinding of the short-lived Biden era Title IX NIL memo. So the quick refresher on that was a couple days before Biden left office, his Department of Education released a memo saying that Title IX had to apply to NIL deals that schools offered players, which is basically code for the House revenue sharing payments had to be, quote, proportionate amongst men's and women's sports. And obviously that was a big deal because most schools that have talked about what their revenue sharing plan will be for the House settlement have said that they're planning to give like 75% of the total amount to just the football team, right? So as was somewhat expected yesterday or 2 days ago, the Department of Education quietly took that memo off of their website. A couple of us noticed, we reached out, we asked what was going on, and yesterday they confirmed that the Trump administration does not believe that NIL payments or anything related to NIL is subject to Title IX, the gender equity statute, and essentially it is their position, and they basically said unless a court decides otherwise, that the revenue sharing payments, don't have to follow any of this gender equity statute. So complete reversal. It was expected, but obviously a very drastic shift, to say the least, from just a couple weeks ago.
I know, Amanda, we are reacting in real time, and that's what is exactly what we do. But as you look at the new policies in place under the new administration, expected or not, what does it really mean, bigger picture, on myriad of issues involving college athletics?
Oh man, well, where do you want to start? Because obviously the Title IX, the gender equity issue, Title IX has become a very big deal to the Republican Party in a way that it wasn't before. They are saying they're going to enforce Title IX because they want to enforce a transgender athlete ban on women's sports. So that's one thing. I would say, on there's an immigration implication here, and there's a story that I'm working on that I'll give you a bit of a heads up on. The 20,000 international athletes, many of whom play college football, for example, think about the kickers from Australia, they're on student visas, and student visas don't allow you to work or get paid, with a few exceptions. And there's been issues about those athletes being able to do NIL deals. Well, now there's a question of, will they get revenue sharing payments, right? That's another thing. And then, the biggest question is whether Congress sort of, after the red wave hit, is going to be able to get a bill passed about whether or not the NCAA gets its antitrust exemption and gets control over athletes being amateurs, and, essentially gets to make sure that there are no other compensation changes or other reforms that they're forced to make to chip away at amateurism. I actually am now less confident that is going to happen than I was a couple months ago. But I think those are the three main overarching issues that the Trump administration and Congress sort of, following his lead, could really shake up college sports on.
Yeah, let me continue to drill down on that, because, we know the president is a big sports fan. We saw him at the Super Bowl. We've seen him at a number of college football games. That doesn't matter in relation to legislation, though. So expand that scope a little bit, because we were led to believe that a red wave, as you said, would be good for college athletics.
Well, I think we were led to believe that it was more likely that Republicans were going to offer an NCAA-friendly bill,
right? Which
I think it's up for debate, right? Whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, everybody has their own opinion. But here's what's happening now. So I spoke with the folks at the Collective Association last week when they were on Capitol Hill. They ran into Commissioner Sankey and others on Capitol Hill on the sort of power conference NCAA administrator side, and they were all lobbying. And what the collectives told me was that even Republican lawmakers were not interested in granting the NCAA an antitrust exemption, right, which is giving it control. And that's really what the NCAA is looking for in a bill. That's the most important thing, besides an employee status prohibition, I guess you could say. So that was really interesting to me, that even with, the ability to control Congress, in the House and Senate, obviously the filibuster makes that a little bit complicated. It doesn't seem like a lot of these Republican lawmakers are interested in aligning with the NCAA. And this is not an issue that President Trump has spoken about publicly ever. So we have no idea what he really thinks. Obviously, we know that Republicans will fall in line if he does have an opinion. But the only opinion I know he has, and we've talked about this before, is that he doesn't like Charlie Baker. So between Republicans in Congress not being too NCAA friendly right now, and the history between Charlie Baker and Donald Trump, I'm not sure I'm seeing as much movement as I thought I was going to see a few months ago.
Well, Amanda, not to turn this into the Situation Room, but I will. I need to age a couple more years to look like Wolf Blitzer. But the point being, Charlie Baker was brought on because he was a schmoozer. He could go to Congress. He could walk the halls of Washington, D.C. and maybe get some alignment where Emmerich was an eyesore. So if Charlie Baker is on the outs with the president, which you make it pretty clear he is, then what good does Charlie Baker do the NCAA or anyone for that matter?
Well, that is a question that seems difficult to answer at this point because look at the transgender athlete executive order that was signed last week. We don't need to go into that if you don't want to. I'm always down, you know.
Hey, listen, I never want to get in the way of a good guess. So.
But look, I bring that up to say that the NCAA did exactly what President Trump asked them to do, regardless of what Charlie Baker may or may not personally believe about that issue. They fell in line with what Trump wanted them to do. Within 24 hours, they followed his lead. And I think they did that because, this is just conjecture, okay? Nobody told me this, but like, a common sense person will look at that and say, yeah, they're trying to pick their battles, right? They want to be on Trump's good side. So, to answer your question, I mean, look, Charlie Baker has a great reputation of being great at being bipartisan, bringing everybody together, but he was hired in the Biden era. Like, I don't think anyone at the NCAA at the time anticipated Trump being in office. Again, this is just like my personal opinion. I don't know if after the past few years when Charlie Baker was the governor of Massachusetts and Trump made those negative comments about him, like, I don't know what Trump thinks about Charlie Baker, like, right now as he's sitting wherever he happens to be today. But we do know that Trump holds grudges, and we do know that he keeps tallies of who his friends are and who his enemies are. So I think Charlie Baker is making a concerted effort to get on his good side, and we'll have to see if he's successful at that.
Yeah, and just not to get too deep into Massachusetts politics, but they did have a major split. Trump endorsed his opponent, I think, the last time Baker ran. And, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not here to fire Charlie Baker, but I am going if he can't do the NCAA any good where it matters, then he has no value.
I mean, I think 100% that's what he was hired for. He was hired to go to Washington and get an NCAA-friendly bill done. I'm not saying that, that might be one of the more difficult jobs, it might be the most difficult job in domestic sports right now. Like, honestly, can you think of a more difficult one? I mean, there's a reason that Commissioner Sankey didn't want that job.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's easy, but I agree with you. That's the one thing he was hired to do. But again, I just don't think anyone, the folks at the NCAA anticipated another Trump presidency because Baker, I mean, time's a flat circle, but he was hired like 2 years ago, right? So I think now they're in a situation where there is someone who literally said a Republican who said he did not vote for President Trump twice.
Right.
And now Trump is like, so why would I give you guys what you want when my Republicans in Congress don't even want to give it to you either?
Yeah, and 2 years ago, when the Republicans lost the midterms, as you well know, Baker blasted Trump, called him an extremist, and then put it all on him. Mm-hmm. So, listen, Amanda, I didn't expect to go down this road, but you have just identified the NCAA. I mean, it's amazing what we've all learned in having this conversation, and what everyone thought was good now has turned terrible. Well done.
Well, you know what? And look, we have no idea. President Trump could come out tomorrow and say, Charlie and I, we're good. We've buried the hatchet, right? But historically, Trump, he keeps track of his political friends and his political enemies. So I think Baker has some work to do.
Well, I'm available to be the next NCAA president, and I'll straighten everything out at the White House. Amanda, great to talk to you. Really fun, as always. We'll continue this. Really appreciate it. Amanda Christovich, really with some very interesting information there. David Basil runs the Broyles Award. He'll join us. Dennis Dodd has not been on the show in a long time. We can't wait to talk to him. Janai Broom joining us later on, the star basketball player of the #1 team in America.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Or was this like you said?
We are back, and a lot to unpack from that last conversation. Let's move ahead and talk to G in Atlanta. Hello, G.
Hey, P-Town, how you doing today, buddy?
Well, you're doing great. How are you, my friend?
Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Paul, I want to talk about my fellow Georgia fan yesterday, Mr. Brad from Macon, Georgia, and which is correct, Bibb County, Mr. John from St. Louis. He had the energy, Paul. He came out. You know, when you look at one of those boxing matches when the referee tell all the boxers to protect themselves at all costs and everything, well, hey, Brad came out punching. And he kept that energy up all during that debate. And he did well. So, Paul, I thought he won, to me. And another question, Paul. Is Roman Harper still with you guys? Because I saw him on the NFL Network the other day. Is he still with you guys?
He is. He does some stuff for various other things. But, yeah, he's still with us.
Okay, and then my final thing I want to say is to John from St. Louis. John, I don't know if you was abducted by aliens one night up in St. Louis somewhere, but you got to come off that, man, because Paul is a great guy, and the way you always trying to say your sources are telling you this and your sources are telling you that, you need to go stand in the corner when Paul's show comes on and just face the corner and just for about 3 or 4 hours until the show go off, because we don't want to hear you up here always talking about Mr. Paul. This is P-Town Nation, and we all love Paul. And so you keep your comments to yourself. Have a great day, Paul.
Well said. G, thanks for having my back, my friend. That was great. Let's check in with the judge. Here comes the judge, Randy.
Hey, Paul, thanks for taking my call. I've got a judgment to make on the debate. Brad killed him and laid him in the shade.
I like that.
And the weak response from Ari was as weak as the offensive line play of Kansas City in the Super Bowl. And I thought it was the best television I've ever seen in my life. Way to go, Paul.
Well, thank you, Judge. We're in rare agreement. Is that it, Judge?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt you while you were complimenting me.
No, I thought it was done. I turned on the TV.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll leave it there so we don't get into another argument. How about that? The judge and I on the same page. You know, I know what the backroom folks said yesterday. They scored it in favor of Ari Wasserman, but we're men of the people here. We don't care what the suits think. I am declaring Brad the winner of the battle yesterday. You agree? We are declaring Brad the official winner. Absolutely. End of story. Swamp Dog is up next.
Hey, Mr. Paul, thank you for taking my call today.
Thanks, Swamp.
I have to agree. I thought that Brad handled himself very well, considering he's going against a man who does that for a living, you know, bake things like that. I thought Brad did a fine job on that. But I also want to talk to you a little bit about, you know, I talked to you about my Georgia Dogs and basketball a little bit. I'm not delusional enough to think that they can go to the Final Four or anything, but I was hoping they could get into the tournament at least. They do that about once every 10 years, and it looks like they're falling outside the bubble on that. You think they have a chance of getting back in? I've seen the teams they still have to play. And I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of wins there. You think they blow it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they don't have to win them all. They just need a couple of key wins. That's hard to predict at this point because there's still so many games left, and I know everybody's married to these bracketology things, but I'll pay a little closer attention in March.
Well, okay. Well, I'm still I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Maybe something good will happen. I hope so. But I also wanted to. I did talk to your producer yesterday about I-Man.
Yeah.
You know, I want to talk to him at some point. And do you have any more information about that? You might want to speak to me or let me talk to him or anything?
Well, I will. I'll make it clear. I mean, Dog. I'll make sure I-Man knows that. How about that?
Yeah, let him know. You know, if he. Yeah, I think you gave him my number. Or
Yeah. Well, the one thing about I-Man, he's back at work now, so he's probably not as free. When he's got a very demanding job. But we'll make sure he gets your number. How about that? Michael is up in the 51st state of Canada.
That's funny. Paul Finebaum.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'll be honest with you. What's happening to you this year? This time last year, you got the pom-poms and the Alabama gear on, high kicks, screaming about Jalen Milroe, a good quarterback. All right. Well, this year, he's about to get drafted, and you're taking a dump on this guy every day. What's happened?
All I can do is react to what I see on the field. That's it. That's what we do here.
I understand. I totally get that. But wait, let's just walk with me for a sec, Paul. Let's do a little math here. Okay.
Okay.
Nick Saban plus Jalen Milroe equals top 14, right? Jalen Milroe plus Kalen DeBoer equals not great. But what's the difference? What's the factor that's changed? Your boy Kalen DeBoer, who everybody's kind of talked themselves into this Ryan Grubb thing now, which is embarrassing. Did you watch Seattle last year? Not good.
I managed to miss the Seahawks almost the entire season.
Well, you could compare your boy Jalen Milroe to Geno Smith. They're similar type quarterbacks, play style, kind of similar pocket guys with a little bit of running ability, etc. But the point is, dude, like, they were going up against a skinny jeans D-line, skinny jeans O-line with Michael Penix Jr., who's like a dime thrower. And then you switch over to this Jalen Milroe. It's not going to work. I'm not saying Jalen Milroe doesn't deserve any blame, but, like, dude, you're just pounding this guy like a month before his draft. I think he's fine. I think he can, play in the NFL. Starter maybe, backup probably. But damn, I just don't understand. I would just tone it down a little bit because you're going to see this Grubb hire. Yikes. Thanks.
I've really never cared for Canadians, have you? No. I think we should invade his province right now. Let's talk to Will in College Station.
Hello, is this Paul Finebaum?
Yeah, for the moment.
Yes, Paul, I wanted to ask you about the current state of the SEC, of what teams are in there.
What would you like to know?
Well, for one, I'm starting a petition to get those Texas Longhorns out of the stupid SEC. Or the SEC is not stupid, just the stupid Longhorns. I don't think they're a real Southern team like them Aggies. How about them Aggies?
Have you ever looked at the map of Texas?
Yes, sir, I have. I've lived here enough time. I think Austin just sucks.
I don't think Austin and College Station are really that far apart. If I remember the last time I was in.
It's about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I have actually driven from College Station to the Austin airport. They're fairly not that far.
Nah, but it's just a culture shock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But hey, I just want to say hi, Paul. This is kind of a meme. Nice to meet you. I just thought it'd be funny. You're doing great.
By the way,
for
your information, Austin is slightly more southern than College Station.
Well, I'm culturally, no. I think College Station is more
I didn't
southern.
say culturally. I said on a map, it's a few degrees below College Station. So it is more southern.
I think map-wise, that's true.
Yeah.
They are more southern.
So you're talking culture, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, listen. If you look at Texas, there's Austin, there's College Station, there's Houston, and then you go down to Galveston, which is right on the Gulf of America. Rick is in Houston. Hey, Rick.
Oh, that guy, man. But Paul, this morning I was watching a clip from Smokey and the Bandit, and don't ask me how my mind works because it made me think that we were missing the opportunity for a great Finebaum event, and that is the trial of John from St. Louis. I mean, we've already got judges in the audience, a couple of lawyers in Augie and William, and I just think, man, if we got the venue changed to your show, that it would rake in the ratings. What do you think?
Well, one thing, we do need to rake in some ratings right now. They've kind of put us on notice. The show is teetering. It's teetering toward cancellation.
Right.
I mean, why do you think we pulled out that thing yesterday? I mean, we are now we're into desperation mode on the show.
Absolutely. No, I get it, Paul. Maybe raking in the ratings wasn't the right motivation, but I think it could make for some compelling radio and TV. What do you think?
I think you're right. Listen, we will do, I mean, this is a weird time of the year for us, and we will do anything we can to make sure that people stay with us. Hey, Rick, thanks so much for the call. Do we need a break here? I've lost track of where we are in the show. You telling me we do? Okay, why don't we do that? We'll take a short break, and we're coming right back.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
And how about this on Saturday? Vanderbilt goes to Knoxville. Rivalry continues. And Glenn is up next in Mississippi. Glenn, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. I'd like to go way back. Is Old Crump Stadium, is it still in Memphis? Is it still there?
My time in Memphis is pretty sparse, but I don't believe so, but I will find out. Crump Stadium is down in central Midtown Memphis. It used to be the main stadium until the 60s, late 60s, when the Liberty Bowl was built. Let me find out. It might still.
It was Central High School's.
Yeah,
stadium,
Central High School, I think, was right next door to it. I am checking to see if it's still there, but I don't think so.
I saw Ole Miss beat Tennessee there in 1954.
I'm glad something happened before I was born.
And I'd like for you to check. I think Ole Miss played a major bowl game there. They promised.
Yeah, no, I remember as a really young kid. My dad took me there to watch something. I've been to a high school game or two there, but it was a nice place. It was good. Central High School, I think, it was right around the corner, but I don't think it's still there. Now, I was in Memphis a couple of months ago, but I don't think I've been right in that area in a long time. I don't think it's there. That would be my best guess.
But Ole Miss, I carried a friend of mine. He just knew Tennessee. Well, I'm an Ole Miss fan, and we saw Ole Miss beat Tennessee. I believe it was 1954.
You're probably right.
And I may be the oldest guy that's ever called us. And would you check? I think Ole Miss promised Memphis a big bowl game. It might have been the Cotton Bowl, TCU, and they played them in Crump Stadium, I believe.
Okay. Yeah,
I wish you'd check on that too.
They're telling me it is not there anymore. Glenn, I'll check on that. But thanks for taking me back to my adolescence. You're saying I'm still adolescent? Let's check in with Alan in Muscle Shoals, known for the music. Hello, Alan.
Yes, sir. Hometown of Reese Davis and Mark Sears as well.
Yeah, you got it.
I used to work with Reese's mom at the local drugstore. Real nice lady.
Oh, really?
Knew his dad, too. Yeah, they were good people. Really good people. Passed away several years ago, but really good folks. And Mark Sears was in the same grade as my daughter there at Muscle Shoals. Of course, he went to Hargrave Military his final year of high school. But I've been following him, and I'm proud of him and everything. And, I was listening to Legends Call the other day, and, man, I just got pumped up. I think that might have been last night. Man, I was pumped up listening to him. Yeah, and, man, can you believe it? 1-2 in basketball. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I remember going to games as a kid and just wishing they could be this good, and here they are. You know, it's an awesome thing to see. What do you think about it, Paul? All the time.
Yeah,
you know,
Alan,
Alabama.
I got my start in Alabama covering a lot of Alabama basketball, and it's pretty remarkable. I mean, I never thought I would live to see Auburn in Alabama basketball better than football.
Yeah, I know it's been crazy, and I mean, Bruce Pearl, he's an awesome guy. Been following them, and they've been doing really well. I mean, I'm an Alabama fan through and through, but I like seeing both teams good. It's good to see 1 and 2. You know.
Yeah, no,
listen.
Saturday is going to be a great day, regardless of what happens. It's a day of great celebration for that state, and it's on. I mean, I was doing a show somewhere this morning, and the same question came up, and the answer to every question is no. Nobody back in the day could have believed it, but in recent years, yeah, you could believe it when you consider that Auburn went to the Final Four 6 years ago, and Alabama was there a couple of months ago. Trey is up next.
Hey, Paul. First of all, then I have a basketball question for you. That guy Michael from Canada talking about DeBoer, and I wasn't happy with this football season at all. But people seem to forget the only reason Alabama made the playoffs in Saban's last year is because of a miracle play against Auburn, or they wasn't in the playoffs.
You're right. You're 100% right.
And the second thing is, Paul, a little stat here and then a question. The SEC out of conference basketball was 185-23. In conference as of Monday, they were 82-82 against each other. But
that is just remarkable
question.
How they've been able to be right on the button.
Yeah, it's crazy. So my question to you is this. If the SEC doesn't at least make the national championship game, not necessarily win it, is the season considered a failure or a loss? And I'll hang up and listen to your response.
Yeah, I mean, no. It's been a basketball season to remember. I have no idea what will happen, but even if that doesn't happen, it's still been a transformational year in the SEC. Stacy is up next.
Paul Finebaum. Let me go ahead and just go and put Bash on notice. I don't understand. I remember there was a time you couldn't even stand Bash's voice. You couldn't even tolerate his voice. Now he got this little fake, whatever he got going on. But let me say this to you, Bash. I don't pretend to be a fan. I'm a true fan, diehard fan. See, do you know a guy by the name of Papa Cherry, Bash? No, you wouldn't know that. We call him the Deuce, David Palmer. He went to my alma mater, my high school that I graduated from, Jackson Nolan High School. He went on to play at Alabama. See, I lived in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I went to college in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at Stillman College. And so anybody that knows about Stillman College knows that Alabama University is right next door. So I'm a diehard Bama fan. I ain't got to fake the funk, buddy. See, I was down with Bama ever since the Deuce went there. And so let me move on to Alabama basketball. See, I've been a fan of Alabama basketball since Irvin Dudley, the center. Power forward was there. When Mark Guthrie was there. When Anthony Grant got there. When Avery Johnson got there, the first son and coach duo. And now Nate Oates. Don't come questioning talking about what type of fan I am. And then last, Michelle. Do you know who Michelle is? Michelle is the GOAT, Don Staley. See, I've been rocking with Don Staley since she was coaching and playing basketball at the same time. So don't come talking to me about what type of fan I am. I don't chase no dynasty. I'm true to the heart, my boy. So when you talk about me, talk about facts that you know. Don't talk about no opinion. But you know what, Paul Finebaum? Guess who started all this nonsense, Paul Finebaum?
Who's that?
Guess who started all this?
Who that?
You did.
Oh, me?
You did. Yes, sir. You.
You.
Don't throw no rock and hide your hand. I've been rocking with you for a long time too, Paul. See, I've been rocking with you for a long time.
Hey, listen, we need to go to a break. Thank you for that great call. We are coming right back.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
And we are back, and let's continue with Longhorn Jack. Hello, Jack.
How are you doing, Mr. Paul Finebaum?
Good afternoon.
You think Arch Manning's going to win the Heisman?
I think he'll be a candidate, but I would somewhat think it's awfully hard to predict the Heisman winner before the season.
Also, how was your beer at the Texas Live? I forgot to ask you.
It was great.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a stilted conversation. Mikkel is up next.
Hey, good morning, Paul. I love your show. I watch it all the time.
Thank you very much.
I'm a true Buckeye living in enemy territory in Michigan. But I was just interested on what you thought about the D.C. hire. I hated the coach when he coached the Detroit Lions because he didn't really do a good job. So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's got a good reputation. Is he in Jim Knowles' league? Maybe not. But, I mean, he had it going for a while, and then, all it takes is a bad year in the NFL, and you're out of work.
All right, that sounds good. One other question. Do you think that Ohio State's going to win 10 games next year? They got a pretty tough schedule.
I know they have Texas. They're at Michigan, Penn State.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they'll go. Right now, I would say I see one. How about 9.5?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Maybe 9. And then that'll be a lot of grumbling from our fans. But I appreciate you taking my call,
Yeah, but I'll tell you
Paul.
something, though. If Ohio State wins 9 games, they could probably still make the playoffs because that schedule is so difficult. Don is up next in Alabama. Hello, Don.
Hello, Paul. This is Pat Smith's buddy, Don. How are you?
Oh, we're doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, great to hear that you're moving back to Birmingham, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, me and you go back a long ways from the WERC days when I used to bring you guys food up there, and I had one of my best times ever when I was a judge with Shane and Bobby from Homewood.
Oh, I do remember. Don, that's one of the more memorable days By the way, I talked to Pat last night. I saw Pat the other day when he came out when I was in Birmingham. Hey, thank you very much for the call. We head to the break. We're back after this.